like day 5, you want to do that distance over those mountains, like it's impossible. But I was like, fuck, I didn't know any of that. I was just like, yeah, 550K, 600K, 400K, whatever, I'll work it out when I get there. You're looking at this grizzly bear in its cub and you're thinking, oh, grizzly bear cubs, that's the worst fucking possible situation you can be in. But at the same time, you're thinking in your head, can you move along, dude? It's been 2 minutes now. It was a 5,500 kilometre ride from Fremantle to Sydney. Like the long way, the long route. So, you know, across Western Australia, across all those iconic places like the Nullarbor, and the longest straight road in the world used to be. And then through, you know, Great Ocean Road, and then up into Alpine Victoria, New South Wales, you know, past Falls Creek, Mount Kosciuszko, and then through Cooma into Canberra and out the back near Wollongong and then into Sydney. So that was the route.
And what, like, just run through like the process of doing that race and
the process of doing it,
and lead, like, I guess just like the mental component of it, and like what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea what it was going to be. You know, I had some idea from watching it, but in terms of my own performance and how it would feel, you know, I really had no idea how it would be and what was possible. But knowing that, I kind of created a plan that was just out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I was very conscious that if I thought I knew what was possible, I'd probably end up limiting myself just by going back through my head saying, what have I done? What haven't I done? You know, going through the training of it all. Like, I'd probably create a plan that would limit me in terms of what I could do at that time. So I just thought, okay, it's better not to know and just give your best effort. And I just modeled my plan on what those best dudes the year before were doing. And I thought, cool, if I can do what they're doing, cool. If I can't do what they're doing, at least I have the format.
What was the model?
The model was to literally just do what they did. Do you know what I'm saying?
Or what was their model?
In terms of just the distances where they stopped, how quick they were going. Yeah. Because at least I knew that if I had the framework and the plan, at least there was something to aim for. And if I got there, cool. And if I didn't get there, I could cut it back. But the reverse of that doesn't really work. In the terms like, if you have a plan and you stop here, you don't really go, oh yeah, I've been riding for 16 hours, let me add another 5 onto it. Your mind just shifts into this gear of just like, I'm going to go where you told me I was going to go. And to stretch it beyond that takes a really strong individual. So I had the plan, and back then I was like, just stick to the plan. And my mind was just like, all right, we're sticking to the plan. You know, so that's what I did. And it really blew my expectations because I was able to do these distances I had never really done back to back, because the way I trained like a slob dude. Like I'd ride Monday, ride Wednesday, ride Friday, ride Sunday. Do you know what I mean? But this is an everyday back-to-back race. So you probably should be emulating that in training. But I would just, I'd train Monday, be so messed up, train Wednesday, be so messed up, train Friday, be so messed up. And sometimes I'd get out on a Sunday. So when I was out there doing it, I thought, wow, I'm actually okay at this. This is working out. And I just stuck with the plan. And that's what I did.
So you just take it day by day, like tell the story about.
Like, yeah, so because you have this plan, right, and it's got the stops on there. You have to go through and look at all the towns, see what's open, see where you're going to stop. You've got it planned down to every single stop, you know, and you have it on like a bookmark. And so you wake up and you look at it and you think, okay, my first stop's here, 200 Ks in, and I'm just going to ride till I get to that stop. And okay, when you get to that stop, you go, I'm going to ride the next 150 this stop. You have bits on there which tells you what time things shut, the numbers for those things, where the hotels are out. You try and pull up into 24-hour towns, so you know that whatever time you get there, something's open. And that's really was the method, that you pick these big towns that are always going to be open, and then it's just about getting there no matter what. And that's cool, you know, because it really gives your mind something to fix on. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to get there no matter what. And that becomes the sole objective of that ride. And that's how I went in, day in, day out, you know. And it was really hard. You know, when I was doing it, it was really hard. I'm trying to think back now and think how hard or how easy was it. But it was very hard for me. Mentally, I've encountered more difficult. Mentally I've encountered more difficult rides than that. even in training, I've had moments that are way more difficult than the hardest moments out there. You know, so, but physically, because I hadn't done the correct training for that type of riding, I dealt with a lot of inflammation on my joints, and I couldn't really walk, you know, so I'd be pulling up to these hotels or motels or whatever, and I couldn't walk, you know, like walking was harder than riding. So I'd get off the bike and I'd be like, I couldn't bend over, I think I was going to tear my hamstring, my ankles, my Achilles. Like my Achilles sounded like, I can't even describe the sound to you, dude. Like it sounded heinous, you know, but I had nothing to lose. And that was great about it. I'd wake up in the morning, and because I don't really give a fuck about the result, you know, I didn't really care. Like I knew that I had to be ready to lose it all to really gain anything. That was my thing. Because if I was scared to lose it all, then I would hesitate. And then when you hesitate, you become reserved, and you can't ride the way you want to ride. So I was like, I don't give a fuck how this is going to go. I'm going to ride every moment like I'm ready for it to be over. Because that was my approach to life. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I brought into it. I was living like I was ready for it to be all over, because that's really how it should be done anyway. Because you don't know when it's going to be over. And really the start of it indicated the end of it. So I was bringing all these principles there. So I'd wake up, my knees would be fucked, my ankles would be fucked, Achilles fucked, couldn't even bend over. And I was like, I don't even give a fuck, man. Let me get on the bike and just ride. And if they blow, they blow. If they don't blow, they don't blow. Either way, it's good for me. The only thing that wouldn't be good for me is if I didn't get up, if I just stayed in bed, you know? So through doing that process, I was like, fuck, it's holding up, it's holding up, it's holding up. And it came through, which was cool.
That what you were saying about the having something to lose is like, makes you go into... That's what I was talking about with one of these early interviews I was doing with Hayden. He's like a working artist, and essentially what he did was he started when he was at uni. He developed these series of cups that were like based off of like origami and folding paper, and then modeled that with ceramics. And then that kind of initially put him on the scene and gave him a market that he could sell to, and he had a product. And then he got to about a couple of years in, and he was saying that he was looking back on his collection. He's like, fuck, everything I'm doing is derivative of what like that initial thing was, and it's playing in a kind of, it like affects your ego and kind of thing, and you like have something to protect, and you're not focusing on getting new things, and then he stripped it all back down to the bare essentials and then moved on to something else. Yeah, and that reminds me of what you were saying in terms of like, if you had like, you're like, oh, I'm an athlete who's done this, or I have done that, or you're comparing yourself to your previous best, as that's who you are. Yeah, like kind of stunts.
That's yeah. See, I was great in that sense, because I didn't even consider myself a cyclist when I was doing it. I don't even care. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't think, oh my god, you're a cyclist, and people are gonna think like, oh, you're not good at performing, and what happens if that happens? I didn't care about any of it. I was just like, look, dude, I'm just going for it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Who cares? That was just my approach, man. And I think, and I've carried that approach on to, you know, other bike rides like that I've done, and that's just like I know it now. Like I know it now. If I know that if I'm scared to lose, and I've done something's wrong, you know. And usually I'll get to a point where I get really scared to lose, and then I'll have this moment where I go, like, what the fuck? You know, I have this moment of realization, like, you're scared to lose, dude. Like, you think there's something to lose here. Like, there's nothing to lose here. And then I'll be able to ride, like, my best. Like, for my last race, that was the night before. Like, I was really worried, and I just caught... You just have to have one moment where you catch yourself, and you just go, ooh, like, what the fuck's going on here, dude? Like, this is nothing, man. You know, like, the only thing... There's nothing... Like, I'm trying to think of a way I could lose. I can't lose, man. The only thing you have to lose is your life, and you could argue that if that's a loss anyway. You know, we don't have that experience, so I don't know. But even in my head, I would argue that's not even a loss. So if there's no losses, then it's just all gain. The only time I would say you lose is if you don't try. To have the desire to do something and you don't, out of fear of losing something that you never really had anyway.
Yeah.
Like, what do you fucking have? What can you hold? What you got fuck all anyway. So just being liberated of that win-loss is so nice, and it really, for me, it extracted the best out of myself.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people are really in great shape physically, but they can't pull it out of themselves, dude, because they're scared. They start going, oh, what happens on day 10 when there's mountains and I'm not going to be in, and I have to pace it because I don't want to blow up. And that really means I want to pace it because I don't want to blow up, because if I blow up, then I'm going to lose. And if I lose, then it's like, who am I? Do you know? Yeah. But at least when we came into that, it was the reverse of that. It was like, who am I? I'd already dealt on those questions and realised that a bike ride doesn't dictate who the fuck I am, you know, as a human. So those fears, they weren't imprinted. They had no impressions on me, which was cool. So my pace was just like at the limit the whole time. There was no like, what happens tomorrow? What happens in the next 100 Ks? It's like if I blow up, I blow up, and then I'll deal with that, and then I'll deal with the next thing, and I'll deal with the next thing, and I'll deal with the next thing. And that's what I did. My Achilles, my knees, my hips, my back, shitting your pants, diarrhea, all of it. You know, so.
What you're saying, like, moving from that stage of, it mirrors what I've heard about, like, I can't remember what it's from, but something to do with spirituality, from going from a phase of having to doing to being. So, like, having material things and having, like, being a doctor or a lawyer, having a certain type of job, and a certain amount of money, having a physique, to doing, to being like, I am this thing that I'm doing. I am a cyclist, I am a lifter, I'm a YouTuber. To then a state of being like, I am just in the process of whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. That's what it becomes. And that's a great, honestly, that was a great way of putting it. And that's what it is. You know, like when I was younger, like that's what I thought it was. Material things would bring me a sense of joy. It didn't. So I got embarked on the next step for me, which was getting into great shape, which is still material. But I found it was the next level for me. And then I got there and realized that didn't work, that I had my complete identity wrapped up in my physique. And when I got there, I felt absolutely nothing. And I was like, well, who the fuck am I? Do you know what I'm saying? And the next step was, I am whoever the fuck I want to be. I can be anything and everything. It kind of deflated. See, when I was writing, I learned to deflate my sense of who I was, because I understood that it's feeble. It's nothing. It's like, that's what it is. It's a sand on a beach. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if I could lose that, then anything was possible. Do you know what I mean? If I could die, it sounds fucking crazy, but if I could die, then everything was open to me, because me, in the standard sense of Abdullah, was very limited. I was limited by the time I've been on earth and the experiences I've had and everything that comes along with that, with your age and your name and where you're from and your social class and your upbringing and what your dad did and what your mum didn't do and what your friends did and your first girl, all that bullshit. And if I could just say I'm none of that shit, then suddenly everything was open to me. Do you know what I'm saying? There's I am Abdullah and there's I am. They produce very different results, I've found.
Like, I've only done 300 Ks in training.
Yeah, you start getting limited by that. It becomes like, the power literally becomes, you know, transfers from your quads to everything. You start pulling from every direction. You know, you start worrying like, oh, like how am I going to make it to the next Roadhouse as being Abdullah? And you let Abdullah die and it's like, well, fuck, man. Of course I can get it. How could you not get it? With everything that's been manifested and possible within our just life itself, if you can tap into that, you know what I mean? Like, anything's possible. Like, if life on a rock in the middle of space, you know, doing that, 7+ billion people doing the same thing at the center of their reality, if that's possible, you know what I mean? Then what's not possible? That's fucking obscene. You know, so that's what I started to tap into, and it's just like, cool. It's really easy. It became really easy, but letting go of all of that is hard. It was hard at the time.
Once you finished, how'd you find out about Trans Am's longer than...
Trans Am's longer. So I rocked up to the finish, and someone said to me, I forgot who said, he was like, can you imagine doing a ride that's like 1,400 kilometers more and like triple the amount of elevation or something? And I was like, yeah, I didn't really think about it at the time. But after a while, after coming off that event and gone through the recovery of it and just chilling, I was like, is that one done?
Yeah, keep going.
I was like thinking to myself, I was reflecting on my training process going into it. And I had done enough training to realize that like 12 weeks of just, you know, I've been training my whole life, like I said, but just on the bike, I was like, I knew that what I did was subpar. Like, I didn't really do as much as I could have, and I really wanted to, you know, dedicate myself to that and see within this given time frame how much I can pull out of myself if I'm very consistent. And it didn't necessarily mean doing more acutely, like doing bigger weeks. It just meant like, the hard path for me was to the moderate path, which was like, I'm gonna just do like a decent amount for a whole year, week in, week out, and allow myself time to rest and just be a multifaceted fucking human being. That was hard. It's easy just to do 12 weeks and be like, fucking, I'm a cyclist, and sit there and watch, you know, motivational cyclist videos and watch Lance Armstrong and think, you know what I mean? That's easy. So I wanted to take the long approach. And that's what I did for Trans Am, which worked phenomenally. Like, I was outstanded by, like, when I went into that race, I was like riding and I was like, fuck, you know, like that shit worked. And it was cool because I had all these ideas, I had all these ideas and thoughts like I had before IndiePack, and I went and tested them out. And that was, at least mentally, I had all these thoughts and ideas about how I thought shit was, and it was cool because in Indie Pack, I practically really got to test them under the strongest flame. Do you know what I'm saying? Which was great. So then when I went to Trans Am, I still had further thoughts that I had learnt from Indie Pack that I wanted to play out in real life scenarios, which I got the opportunity to. And physically, I had, you know, concepts and ideas I'd been pondering and training and been trying out that I also got to see, you know, the results of too, which was awesome. Trans Am was much more tough for me than Indie Pack, physically at least. Like in terms of like the physical lowest moments of Indie Pack, like, you know, chronic diarrhea, like really being unable to just focus for a split second. I had reached those moments much earlier on Trans Am. Like I reached them in day one. Like chronic diarrhea, I got day one and lasted probably 10 or 11 days. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking shitting your pants every like minute. You know, every 2 minutes you're shitting. And just a crazy uncomfortable stomach, like the most horrendous stomach feeling ever. So
Why does that happen?
it's probably just something to do with your digestion, man. You know, because you're riding, it's not like you're not riding at this little threshold where you're like kind of in between. You've laid the hammer down and your body's in extreme fucking stress. It's probably like hitting you with a car and then telling you to, or me being a lion chasing you and saying, okay, yeah, make sure you're eating while you're running away from the lion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your body's like, nah, bruh, like we don't want to be eating. We want to divert blood flow to our legs and our heart, you know? Like I don't want to be spending time digesting 20,000 calories while you're running away from the fucking tiger. I think that's the level of stress you really put yourself into. Like, you know, especially on the first day, and you've got to learn the skills to be able to take yourself there. And that's the hardest bit, is just getting to that point where your body goes, fuck, he's on. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not fucking around. Let's kick up a gear, you know? That's the hardest bit, because you just, the whole time it's just self-doubt, quit, you want to quit, you don't want to be here and shit. And this is happening within the first minute of riding and you think, fuck man, here we go again. But once you've gone through the process of that, it's not as disheartening. The first time you go through the process of that, you're disheartened. You think, why do I want to quit? Why am I not motivated? Why am I not inspired? But then you do months of no motivation, no inspiration, just doing. Eventually that voice in your head just fucking goes away. And it's like, we can't talk this motherfucker out of something he wants to do.
And that's what that was interesting when you were saying about the 12-week thing. And it's almost like when you see bodybuilders do a prep for a show, it's like they're holding, like motivationally, they're holding their breath.
Yeah.
And they're like, fucking amp yourself up and get you into this frantic state.
Yeah.
Like, go.
But you don't learn the lessons, man.
Yeah.
See, when you come up to something challenging, when you come up to something really that's going to press you to your absolute motherfucking core, that doesn't hold up. If you don't learn how to operate from a being level with no motivation, with none of that, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And the product of time, which is great, which is, you can just say the product of the experience, and, you know, leaving it for a long period of time, is that you extrapolate, you pull out all these lessons of, you know, emotional detachment, learning how to deal with your thoughts. In 12 weeks, you know what I mean, bro? I could eat celery juice for 12 weeks and nothing else. And I could be motivated about it. Motivated, you know what I'm saying? But eventually that dies off. Now, if that's the length of time you're giving yourself, you never learn how to operate beyond thoughts, beyond emotion. And they're the real skills you need to navigate fucking everyday life. Do you know what I'm saying? So allowing yourself time to go through that training protocol process, you develop those things, which is great. So when you're out there in the flesh and having to deal with them, it's like, oh, I know how to do this. I've done this shit for 10 years. Like, I hardly want to do shit sometimes. Like, I don't sit there and think, oh my God, I want to go train, I want to go do that. It's not like what it was when I was 16, where I'm like, fuck, I want to be Kai Green. Or I'm waking up inspired, like I want to get a bigger peak on my delt or something. You know, so skills like that are invaluable in a race, in a scenario like that. And they're invaluable anytime, with anything you do. So the whole thing was hard. Just fucking, man, it was so hard. I was moaning. I was doing all sorts of crazy shit, dude. Like I used to pride myself on not making sound. Because it's a really funny thing, bro, when you don't make sound for days. It's a fucking weird thing. Like, because you think about your own life, like, yeah, I could sit at my house all day, but still I make sound. I talk to my mum here and there. I'd be at work, I'd be digging a hole all day, and I'd be thinking to myself, you know, how many words have I spoke today? Maybe I spoke 100 words. Really minimal. Bare minimum. But when you're out there, you literally don't fucking talk. So you're spending hundreds of hours by yourself, like in there, not speaking. And you make a sound and it becomes almost like, who's speaking? You're kind of like, who is that? Which is really cool. But I was moaning uncontrollably on this one just moaning, because it was just so like, I was making some funky fucking sounds, man. But I had the blissful ignorance in terms of I didn't know the route. So I was really on my plan. I was making decisions on my plan that were just fucking outrageous. That if you knew what I was doing, you'd be like, dude, don't like, going from there to there after riding 200 miles is like that's gonna be fucking hard, bro. Like day 5, you want to do that distance over those mountains, like it's impossible. But I was like, fuck, I didn't know any of that. I was just like, yeah, 550k, 600k, 400k, whatever. I'll work it out when I get there, or I'll stick to it. And I was really close to being able to stick to the whole plan. I had some issues with weather, and it kind of slowed me down, and some shit was just ridiculous. But I really was able to stick to it pretty well. But there was a few key moments in there that were fucking crazy.
Is there any like
real pinnacle moments?
Yeah, if you picked like a moment where you like paint that as like a picture in terms of like.
I had heaps of shit, bro. Like, you know, I had moments at the start that were, you know, where I had to come to that realization once again that I'm ready for this all to be over and it doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, it means a lot. It depends what that means. Because it's like saying it doesn't mean anything. When I say that, I'm not saying that life doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying that the result doesn't mean anything. What means something is trying. That's my point, you know? So to get wrapped up in the result is a meaningless pursuit. So I had to feel that in my hotel room. I had to get to a point of self-doubt, which was driven off the result to go, fuck, what am I doing? I'm ready for this to all be over here right now, and I have to put it on the line, and I'm ready to lose everything out of respect for life itself. I had to work that out because the competition at this race was higher. So first few days, you know, I'm doing my thing, it's hard. But then, you know, in America, it had a late winter. Like when I rocked up to America, I came from winter, I went to America, it was snowing. It was meant to be summer. So the weather was extreme and I had packed fuck all. So I'd be going up during the day, extremely hot temperatures. Then I'd be up there at night and it would drop down to like 0, or I'm talking so cold that, you know, I'd be going down the mountain in the morning, shivering, like praying, waiting for the sun to come up. Like, can you imagine being awake for like, now you're awake for like 80 hours, you know, you slept like 5 hours or 6 hours or whatever, and you're shaking like this, trying to hold on to the bars, going down a fucking big hill that's taking 2 hours, freezing cold, like trying to stay, like, it was crazy shit like that, man, you know? And I had to start napping heaps earlier, so I'd be pulling up into toilets, like I'd see, or a piece of dirt on the floor, I'd be pulling up there at midnight, jumping off the bike, 20-minute nap, popping up, going again, you know, like crazy mountains. I ran into a fucking bear. You know, like I got into West Yellowstone National Park, right? And I was tripping because people were telling me like West Yellowstone National Park. Some dude told me I wasn't gonna be able to ride through there at night because of the animals. But when I got close there, I was asking the girl, I had this crazy ass headwind, man. Like probably the strongest headwind I've ever ridden in. It took me like almost 10 hours to ride 100K. You know? So I remember I was piling through this headwind and I pulled up maybe 50K from West Yellowstone and I'm talking to this chick and at like, you know, this kind of antique, you know, tourist joint, and I was like, can I ride through West Yellowstone? And she's like, yeah, you'll be fine, just watch out for all the animals and shit, the moose, the fucking, you know, the bears and whatever. And I was like, cool, whatever, don't worry about that shit, I'll deal with that. You know, so I get there, I'm all messed up. I had put in this massive effort to get there because of the headwind. It was the most hardcore headwind I've ever seen, man. Like I saw dudes riding the route because it's a popular tourist route. They would just stop like little like pillars that had just stopped on the road, but they weren't riding because the wind was too strong. And I was like fighting this fucking wind, 10 hours sprinting, like going into it. Key point is I got there, I was messed up, woke up, realised it was going to rain all night, got myself pyjama pants, pyjama jumper. I'm rolling through there, rained all night, and I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see literally 10 metres in front of me. It was that much rain. Nothing was open. So I crossed this whole national park at night, which is a shame, but it was also kind of cool the way I went through it. And then in the morning, I was descending out of there, making my way to this other big mountain, and it was kind of snowed up. And there was a big sign that said, beware of bears. And I just thought, yeah, whatever, that's what they say out here. It's kind of like, you know, beware of the kangaroos or whatever. But then I was going up there, and this dude pulls up next to me, and he's like, there's a bear right there, dude, stop. And I was like, fuck. And there was like this black bear on the side of the road. You know what I mean? So I went onto the other side of the road and kind of hopped off my bike, like was looking out the corner of my eye, went past this first bear. I was like, cool. Continued on. And like, I was on the phone to my mum at the time. So I had my mum in my headphones because I used to check up with her. Like I'd check up with her and see what's happening, just talk about life and shit. And I started to notice these cars pulling up over in the distance. And I thought, you know, like what's these cars doing? I didn't really think anything of it. And then as I looked up the road, there was this grizzly bear and its babies just like right on the middle of the road, dude. And I was like, fuck, man. It's weird because now saying it's completely crazy, but at the time you're more concerned that the grizzly bear's moving too slow. You know what I mean? Like you're looking at this grizzly bear and its cub and you're thinking, oh, grizzly bear cubs, that's the worst fucking possible situation you can be in. So, you turn sideways, you're looking at the corner of your eye, you don't want to stare at it and shit. But at the same time, you think in your head, can you move along, dude? It's been 2 minutes now. Like, I got to get up this fucking climb, man. So, weird shit like that, honestly, I would have fought that grizzly bear. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the state. It's like someone's got a gun to your mum's head. Like, you're not going to think about it. You're going to run through the motherfucker. That's what it becomes like. Now, if I saw a grizzly bear, I'd shit my pants. I'd be squealing. You know what I mean? So, stuff like that went down. And apart from that, dude, there was other crazy... Like, you go through these states where you're like where you'll be getting... You go through a state that's like 1,000 Ks long and everyone will have a pit bull and a Rottweiler and shit off the leash. And you'll just spend days at night, all the time, during the day. You'll just see these like 3 pit bulls running towards you full fucking steam at like 2 a.m. And you just have to sprint away and yell at them and ah! You know what I'm saying? And then by the time you're ready to knock a fucking pit bull out, there's no pit bulls no more. You get so tired and you got nothing left that you're ready to square off with a pack of dogs and there's nothing left. You're out of there. So there's all these kind of shit like that goes down.
How far were you through when that guy interviewed you?
Oh, I was coming towards the tail end, bro.
Yeah,
I was probably a couple thousand K from, maybe it was like 4,000 K in. I was coming up on the distance the most distance I'd ever done. Like, because the Indy Pack was 5,500 K, I did that in about 14 days. This one, I had already come up on that distance at least a day before with like double the amount of hills. So I was kind of entering into new territory. But it's the same approach, man. You kind of have to learn just to wipe your memory. You kind of have to just go, I just started. And that becomes harder the more fatigue you've accumulated physically. But mentally, I know that physically I'll accumulate all this fatigue and it'll get to a certain level. But oftentimes, this is what you're at physically in terms of your fatigue. And then because you don't know how to control yourself mentally, you kind of bring up this fatigue. This level of fatigue here feels like something it's not. Do you know what I'm saying? By virtue of your mental state. But I really wanted to get this fatigue and leave it at where it's actually at. I've accumulated 13 days of fatigue. That there's a level to that, and I don't want to add to that. And the only way for me not to add to that is to just wipe my memory and just go, this is the first day I've ridden. So I'd be saying this, I would get up, I would wake up from my nap and I'd say, like, if I was going to sit there and think how long I've been riding for, it's just like, I just started. Do you know what I mean? I just fucking started. And that allows that fatigue to be where it's at. Days aren't even a thing, time's not a thing. When you eliminate all these burdenous aspects of normal life, like time, people experience time as a fucking burden. Let alone the clock, the only thing, clock's ticking down to your death. They can't even withstand a work day. They're looking at the clock, what time is it? But once you get outside of your name, outside of time, outside of days and shit, it just becomes way easier, you know what I mean? And if you can't look at it, you can't believe in those things. They're not real to me, especially when I'm riding. They're just, they're like techniques of like organising. Methods of organisation or, quantifying your experience. Like I'm not in this moment. Like I was in a different moment before. That moment's not now. Now I'm at this moment. Do you know what I'm saying? It's easy to say 4 hours ago I was sitting at the fucking cafe drinking the chai. Not like 2,000 moments before this moment I was there. It's hard to talk like that. But when you're out there, that's all you have. It's the moment. You just deal with that. It sounds cliche and it sounds like, dude's been reading The Power of Now or whatever. But it's different when you're out there.
Yeah.
My whole world's changed now. The way I operate, the intentions behind everything I do. I mean, geographically though, I'm still back in the same room, but there's been a 5 or 6 or 10 year period that's taken place in between, which is cool.
Because I want to investigate that, and then at the same time combine that with the idea of like there's a narrow road of success, and you can let's say
it's like that hero's journey is everyone's journey.
Yeah, but it was debate whether there is for each person whether there is really a journey. And
if you were asking me, I'd be like, yeah, there is. I reckon that hero's journey just sounds like if there was kind of like a cosmic journey or a universal journey for everyone. That was the point, then that's it.
Yeah, but it's also like I wanted to mix that with another concept, which is from this this book called I think it's Narrow to Success. Anyway, it's the idea of like that there's this path that you're supposed to follow. Like when you let's say like you wanted to get in shape, right? And then there's this path on like a narrow ridge, and if you fall off a bit, like there's a momentum with whatever decision you make. And so like you're like, oh, I'll just have one cheat meal. And then that one cheat meal turns into like, oh yeah, I deserve it. Like I'm relaxed. And then every time you make a decision, you make a rationalization with that decision, which puts you in a new place. And then by the time you've like fucking veered off this path and you're already over here, you have to undo all of those lies to come back to where you started.
For sure.
And it's a debate between whether those two things is like, is there just one linear journey? Like, not whether that's the same for everyone, but for you, do you think there's like one specific path that you feel like you need to follow in terms of like, because you know, like it seems like you have tried an intuition in terms of where you knew you need to go.
You know, honestly, if you asked me what the path was, I wouldn't know, man. Like, I got no idea. Like, that hero's journey shit sounds sexy as. When you say it like that, it sounds exciting. And I would say that that applies to every single person, you know what I mean? And that's encoded into the nature of life itself. But we just resist it. You know, like we live in a structure that resists that natural path for all of us. So, is it linear? Is it fucking, do I know what it looks like? I don't know, man. Honestly, I just feel like I follow what feels right. It sounds fucking ambiguous, but I just maintain and honor that. And that usually guides me on the path I feel that's best. You know?
Do you think that could be the path?
That could be the path. Honestly, but I don't know. You know, I don't want to sit here and say that I know, because who fucking knows? For me to know, I would need to die and then come back and then pop my head out behind your head and be like, yeah, this is what it is. You know, now that I've had the ultimate perspective, I can let you know. But honestly, this shit's unfolding moment to moment, just like it is for anyone or you. So I'm just trying to work it out the best I can. But for me, honestly, it's as simple as I just honor the part of myself that I feel is the best. You know, just going through the journey, you know, and just within your own human experience, you know that there's parts of you that are not so desirable and there's parts of you that are better or worse or whatever you want to deem it. And I just answer to the best parts of myself and continue on that path, you know, and just make choices based off of that. If they're right choices or wrong choices, who knows, man? I've made plenty of choices I thought was wrong, but to deny those choices would be for me to deny where I'm sitting right now in the effect of the accumulation of every single choice resulting in this. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So who's to say what's right or wrong? Currently, I can tell you that none of them was wrong because I'm enjoying where I'm at. You know?
Do you think, is there any like opportunities, because you were saying there's nothing to lose except if you don't try. Is there any things you look back on you regret not trying?
No.
Okay. And is there any...
As if I try them, it might be different. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like by the reasoning of the fact that I just enjoy where I'm at right now, sitting here with you, and I'm content with that, then everything else was worked out perfectly. Do you know? I could go back and think, oh, I should have done that, but that's not a habit I make of myself. I don't go back. You know? I don't use my memory to fucking burden me and go back and think I should have done that and I should have done that. No. I don't do any of that. Do you know what I'm saying?
And is there anything, like what's next? Is there any opportunities that you're fearing or...
You know, like it's standard. Yeah, I do get scared, bro. Like I do get, but that, to me now, that's just a part of the experience. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of the missions in life is just to crush that fear and having the knowledge of because there are things to fear. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's nothing to fear, but being overcome by that fear and being debilitated is another story. Like if you said, oh, do you fear your mum dying in a car crash on the way home? I'm going to fucking say, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you fear that your sister might, get ahead? You know, there's like, but knowing what to fear in a way and not what's irrational and what's rational. Do you know what I'm saying? And dealing with that. So I try and liberate myself from all the irrational fear in terms of like, fear of not being good enough or fear of fucking, what people think of me or how I look or how I speak or any of those kind of irrational fears, I deem them. Other fears like, losing your loved ones, it's sickness and, birth, old age, sickness, disease, all those things and the fears that arise with those, I try and understand and deal with. So now moving forward, It's different moving forward now, man. Because I'm coming full circle on things I was doing before, but they're completely different. Like now, if I want to start making YouTube videos again, it's a completely different. It's for a different reason, and there's an approach I have to take. And I guess what's scary about it is you're scared of losing, you know, what you've worked so hard to develop. You know, but then you have to work out what am I losing? Is there anything to lose? And you go through that whole process again of answering those questions, you know. And then taking my writing, it's weird because it's easy to take it too seriously. But then at the same time, you don't want to be, you know, not take it seriously. Because it's no joke. It's a joke, but it's no joke. There's like a balance there. To say it's a joke is to be disrespectful and arrogant to the whole opportunity and the experience of just life itself. But to take it too serious is delusional in a way also. So it's just navigating that path to where it's like applying the effort I need to with cycling and everything else outside of that to progress and still work on everything else. That's what I want to continue with. And just share that with people. So I probably want to start making videos again. But now I move into a world now where it's like I look for, you know, sharing it with others and then asking for help, which I'm not really used to. Yeah. Outside of, you know, my immediate circumstances, asking for help, like, you know, it might look like, oh, I need a sponsor bike or stuff like that. And so that's a whole other journey that's opened up to me, and which I just have to put myself out there to do that.
You scared to do that?
Am I scared to do it? No, because honestly, I know that I've been rejected so many times. I've been rejected so many times and failed so many times in other pursuits that I've just learnt not to care. And I think that's great. Do you know what I'm saying? The best thing is to do is to be shit at it for so long, because by virtue of that experience, you learn that, you know? You're swimming and shit and you think you're going to pull up at a fucking island and that's going to be it. But then you pull up and it doesn't work out for some reason, so you keep swimming. You pull up at the next island and you think, okay, this is going to be it, I'm going to chill here now. And it doesn't work out, so you keep swimming. Eventually, like, I'm not pulling up at no motherfucking island, I'm just going to keep swimming. And that's what it becomes like, you know what I'm saying? For so long, nothing works out, that the only thing you can attach yourself that's there all the time is the process. And in terms of valuing yourself, you learn that, like, other people aren't fucking reliable. I can't rely on you to value me. I can't rely on you to give me some sort of self-esteem, because just by nature of design, you could walk out and get hit by a car. And then what the fuck am I going to do? I'm going to have to find a new motherfucker to value me. It's very temporary. So you learn to fall in love with the process, keep swimming, and to learn how to value yourself and respect yourself, and that's really it. So I don't mind asking people anymore, man. Because if they said to me no, I'd be winning. If they said to me yes, I'd be winning. Do you know what I mean? If they said you're a loser, I'd be winning. It's all winning. There's no fucking winning. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, the only time I'm not winning is if I don't try. Or I change myself. Changing yourself is not winning. Like, I'll pull up to do a talk and I'll be thinking to myself before, what is there to lose here? And there's nothing to lose really, other than that choice of changing myself for others. That's the only time I'd lose. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's a part of you that craves acceptance. It craves it, man. You know, it craves it. And the most honest way to do that is to accept yourself for who you are and love yourself. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean being complacent and just sitting on the couch eating Cadbury chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know? But there still is that part of me that craves that. And I have to be making sure that I'm satisfying that internally. You know what I mean? Yeah. With my own self-love. Which sounds cliche as fuck. But it's not. Yeah. You know? And it's this vicious, it's not vicious, but it's this great cycle, you know what I mean? Because I love myself no matter what, but at the same time, you know, once you start living a life with good actions, good habits, and they really align with your morals and ethics, that only fortifies and develops more self-confidence and more self-love, and it becomes this big fucking snowball that's unstoppable. That's how I view it. So the cause and effect of thinking like this, well, the effect is high performance. Yeah. And a high performance on a personal level. Doesn't mean that it's going to be the best performance in the whole world amongst all the beings fucking alive. It just means that I can extract the best out of myself in anything I do. That's the effect of the mindset. Do you know what I'm saying? It's undeniable that that's where it starts. You know, yeah, it's undeniable. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, explain to me where else it starts. It doesn't. Everything starts there. Yeah. That's the foundation of your existence is inside your head. Wherever the mind's located. That's a debated fucking fact. That's debated. That's not even fact. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, so there's such room there. That's a whole nother topic. But you know what I'm saying. That's where it starts. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Let's fucking hope that. Oh, God damn.